Hi, Tyll at Interfidelity here. Today, we're going to do a little talk about the future of headphones. And to start, we're going to have to talk a little bit about the past in order to get a bit of a run-up to it. So in the past, headphones have been used for things like audiology and in professional recording studios. But in recording studios, they were mainly used by the singers who just needed to be able to hear things well enough to sing. When it came to mixing and mastering and that kind of stuff, almost all those kind of audio engineers would say, yeah, I don't do that on headphones. And consumer headphones, well, until the Walkman came along, I mean, we had the Koss Pro 4AA's, which were okay, sort of. And once the Walkmans came along, then we had the Koss Porta Pros. But the bottom line is that in the past, until 10 or 15 years ago, headphones really were not a very mature product. They were just kind of what somebody put out. There was no critical reviews of them. If you went to a store, it was hanging next to the cables. It was considered an accessory. It wasn't really a category of its own. So then Apple came along, and they did their White Wires advertising program for the iPod. You remember those pictures with the bold color backgrounds and the silhouetted dancer, and then the wires from the little earphones on the earbuds on the Apple. And what that did was it sort of brought to the mass consciousness that headphones were a thing. And people began to, well, at that point they associated it with the iPod, but they became aware that there were headphones there. And I suppose you could say I came along with Headroom and began the headphone enthusiast segment, and was the first manufacturer of headphone amplifiers and focused on headphones in that kind of way, and that started to grow. Then Beats came along. Dr. Dre and Monster got together, and they came out with their first Beats by Dre headphones, and it was $300. So it was very, very expensive. And of course, all the kids wanted it because it was Dre, and they did an incredible job of marketing, and they ended up with all these athletes with the stuff on their neck. And then all of a sudden, there was the public was willing to pay $300 for headphones. And when I was in Headroom, we considered a $250 headphone an expensive headphone. So we're now at a time where that's gathering momentum. The headphone enthusiasm is gathering momentum. The folks over at Harman are working on the target response curves, and everybody's sort of following along. So we're at this leaping point right now. It's almost as if headphones are going to primary school. Before, they were just toddlers or, inconsequential. So now we're at a point where we got headphones heading off. And just like a lot of the world, there's when we look towards the future, what we have to look at is how various uses of headphones are going to converge. For example, it used to be when I had a headphone that had a cable on it that didn't have a microphone on it, it was called a headphone. And when I had a headphone that had a cable on it that had a microphone and a buttons on it, it was called a headset. And they were kind of two different things. And then slowly but surely they just became one thing. And that's convergence, and we're going to see a lot of that. So from here, where do we go? Well, obviously, for us as headphone enthusiasts, I think we're going to just see a continuing sort of not exponential growth, just a linear progression. Better materials, thinner diaphragms, better diaphragms. For example, I don't know why more people don't use fiber diaphragms like they had on the Fostex back in the day. Somehow those always seemed really nice. Sennheiser made with the 800 the toroidal diaphragm. So I see in the high end that to continue for a while. But out there in the world, people want to listen on their phones. And so we're seeing headphones get to lower and lower impedances and things like that. And the Pokemon craze a little while ago showed us that mixing information on your phone with the real world was awesome. And of course, gamers know that. We got a whole world of headphones that I just never ever talk about. Gamers, where they have virtual reality on headphones. And then it's important to remember there's a whole industry out there for hearing aids. And those folks have a lot of expertise with DSP in small in-ear headphones. So what I see happening is we're going to start to see those things converge where we begin to get virtual reality on headphones. For example, the Pokemon kids might be able to look around and hear the Pokemons running through the bushes. Or gamers will have 3D surround sound with head trackers for their gaming, and that's all cool. And I also expect to see that we get mixed headphones that have both virtual reality here, and then there may be a visor, so you have both the headphone and the visual. It's audio and video, they just go hand in hand. It always seems to me like video gets more attention, it's a more conscious thing, and audio, because it's subconscious, comes along sometime afterwards. So we're going to start to see more and more virtual reality on headphones. But we could take it a step further than that too. One of the things that Microsoft is working on with their virtual reality goggles is mixed reality, where you can place an object in space and it stays there. You put a virtual thing on a table here. For example, at an engineering meeting, they've got a design and they 3D place it on the design, and the engineers can wear the goggles and they can look around at it. Well, there's a similar thing with the audio. And so now the kids could run around and see the Pokemon and hear the Pokemon as they run around, and mixed with the real reality. Now that's kind of a silly example, but I can tell you that Sennheiser, for example, is working very, very hard on producing a concert-like experience with virtual reality on headphones, and no doubt it'll be coupled with goggles as well. And so it may be in the future that movies and music get produced in this virtual form. To take that a step further, when I don't know if you've seen the Google Translate, where you can, on the phone, where you can point it at a sign that's written in Russian, and on your phone it turns into English. Well, of course, you could do that in a visor as well. I go to Tokyo, I look up at the signs, and all of a sudden they're all in English lettering. I can look for Akihabara without having to try to discriminate all these odd characters for me. And similarly, we'll eventually follow along on the audio side, where people can talk to me and it will be in English in my ears, which is really cool. And then you can imagine the kind of help that for blind people. They walk down the street and there may be this running narration in their headphones that say, in a low level, 2825 Main Street, this is the Rexall drugstore, da 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 da. So they will have this, possibly have this background that gives them situational awareness that they can't have. They can understand where sounds are coming from and what those sounds are, but they can't read signs. They can't know whether the light is green or red at the stop sign. And with the intelligence of artificial intelligence and things like that, they could have cameras attached that would narrate for them, walk or stop, the sidewalk is here, those kinds of things. Take it even a step further than that, they are able with headphones, and then this is a lot of times small headphones. This is starting to come from the hearing aid world, where they can discriminate spatially sound. So any sound that's not coming from directly in this direction is canceled, but any sound that's coming from that direction is enhanced and made more intelligible. So you could sit at a dinner table with people if you're hard of hearing, and somebody will talk and you just turn your head to them and you hear them, but the background is gone. And that can work in multiple ways if you have a powerful enough headphone array where you sit down at the table and you just go headphones, this is Mike, this is Mary, this is Fred, and that's somebody else, and it will know where your head was pointing when you looked at them to initiate the conversations. And then from then on, any coherent sound, it's more coherent because they're close, will be amplified. No matter what way you turn your head, it'll amplify those sounds. And then incoherent sound, like background noise, can be reduced through noise cancellation. So Bose, in fact, has a product right now, a real product called the Hearphones, and they're able to do the one-person thing where you can look at somebody and you can hear them, and it cancels background sounds. And in fact, I thought there was one headphone that could trigger on particular sounds, like your name. So you would teach it your name, and then when anybody called you, it would be noise canceling. It would shut out outside sound. And then when somebody said your name, it would turn the outside sound back on and you'd hear your name. And you could program it to hear when the telephone rings, and you could do things like that. And then we'll take it just one more step farther than that. And now that you have this idea that you can enhance sounds from different directions, you can imagine that firefighters who are looking for people in a fire, and there's this great roar of the fire going on, and somebody's going, help, help, like that. They'll be able to build circuits that are able to suppress the sound of the fire, because fire has a certain sound to it, and will enhance the sound of voices, because voices have a certain sound to them. So emergency workers or police or firemen, of course the military probably already have this, I don't know, but a lot of things like that. So you can imagine that there is going to be just a tremendous amount of opportunity for technological developments in headphones in the future to do all these sort of things. And the important part is all those things can fold back into enthusiast headphones. Once people have done all this research and they're doing that, well, they'll make a variety of products. And one of those products, no doubt for audio professionals, will be a headphone that is tuned, and there was a paper presented in Denmark this year when I went to the conference. Headphones that are tuned to be linear. In other words, they don't try to tune them to meet a certain target frequency response. They tune them to be very, very linear. And then, using electronics, they EQ them to the proper target response. And given the fact that we're talking something like 10 years in the future, they will be able to do this very, very well, I hope. And so it's likely, it seems to me, that audiophile headphones 10 or 15 years from now will always come as a matched set, the headphone and the amplifier for that headphone. And it may be that what will happen is people will start, and they're already doing this, of course, they'll be measuring headphones and then building a box for driving various different headphones to the best of their ability. But the best headphones will be headphones that are designed to be extremely linear, and then you have an amplifier that compensates for them, for the proper frequency response and impulse responses and all time domain response and stuff like that. So there is a future for high-end enthusiast headphones that include a lot of DSP. That's not about catching Pokemons in the forest. It's about getting really, really good sound on headphones. And if you look at my question and answer video, that will be the time when imaging on headphones may actually be able to supersede the imaging on speakers. But we'll see. That's my hope anyway. And look forward to traveling that road with you. All right. We'll see you guys next time.